Good evening, guys. Hey, coming at you from St. Louis on Monday night after a great week in Washington, D.C. last week. For those of you that didn't catch the updates, hopefully you got a chance to catch some of the updates because it was one heck of an exciting week. I mean, I've been around the political arena for 30 years, but those people that have talked to me this week can tell there's just a genuine excitement that I haven't had in a long time about any issue that I've worked on in the 30 years. But in particular, with regard to shared parenting and Title IV, I am just extremely excited. Just phenomenal progress was made. Since I've been back, I did an interview on TV this morning on Missouri Viewpoints. We'll be sharing that when that episode comes out. It's a 7.5-minute segment. It's a 30-minute show in Missouri, syndicated throughout all of Missouri. Most of the insiders in the political realm of Missouri watch this show on a regular basis. The majority of the state legislators do, and they're all on a regular basis. So it was really good to be able to be on that show in particular. And as I said, we're going to be getting some good exposure. It's about a 7.5-minute segment that we'll be able to share on all the pages when that does come out. But I think it came across very, very well as far as why we need some shared parenting bills across the country. But just real excited coming back after Washington, D.C. and just seeing the different, matter of fact, that was the thing that was impressive too, was all the Missouri state legislators that were liking and commenting some of my posts while I was in D.C. To realize that they're actually watching what we're doing. I didn't count, but I think there were 11 different legislators from Missouri that had liked some of my different posts while I was there. And I know in particular a couple of the legislators that I met with in D.C., their staffs had been watching the page because they were making comments about posts that I had done the previous day. So they're watching what we're doing. We definitely have got a voice in Washington now. But real excited. Going to be talking a little bit about Title IV-D tonight. Not going to go into a lot of depth. But early on, I'd been telling everyone that to get anything done at the federal level, it's just such a behemoth project to try and get something done there. I mean, watch TV and look, nothing gets done in Washington. So I was telling people we were looking at a minimum 7 years to be realistic. I was thinking it would be closer to 10 years before we'd get any kind of changes made in the Title IV funding formula. But I tell you what, I'm definitely changing my tune now about that. I'll get to that in a second of some of the advances we made in Washington. But we already have had some great progress made at the state level. We had Missouri pass the rebuttable presumption, or not, I'm sorry, the facts, findings, and conclusions. We're probably going to get the rebuttable presumption bill passed next year in 2018. But we did get HB 1550 passed in 2016. Kentucky this past year passed the temporary bill. Great job, and more importantly, it passed unanimously in both chambers in Kentucky. So great job, and I know Matt Hale gets a lot of credit for that. He did a lot of work on that one. Up in Michigan, Jim Runstead is doing a great job. And I hate to leave people out, but I know Keith Ledbetter and Linda Wright and several other people are working very hard on that with Jim up there and just doing a great job. Alabama made great progress last year, even though they didn't get the bill passed. Florida, we're just waiting for a new governor, and I'm sure we're going to get a bill passed. Illinois and Ohio are definitely coming on the radar. Illinois, I tell you what, there's Chad, Jesse, Steve, Corey have done a great job. A bill has already been written that's going to be introduced in Illinois this year. Iowa, as of today, from what I've heard, we now have 4 co-sponsors of the Iowa bill that's going to be introduced this year. So in case, because I know a lot of people have said, well, but at the state level, nothing really happens. Well, and I agree to a degree. Until we get the Title IV funding formula passed, to a degree, we're spinning our wheels because we're always going to have some problems. The challenge is it's a strategy and a very strategic move that needs to take place. We gain traction and credibility at the federal level by getting state laws passed. Because at the federal level, they pay attention to that and they notice trends going. So as we can get more states passing bills, it may not seem like we're making a difference, but trust me, we're building up equity, political equity, if you will, for the real goal that we have, which is changing the Title IV funding formula. And as I said, I thought it was going to take somewhere around 7 to 10 years, but I could be wrong in this, but I believe in my heart we may be looking at 3 to 4 years if we do it right. The reception that I had from the legislators that I met with, there was not a single one of them that was negative. I mean, man, every single one of them was either very positive or just very eager to learn more. Now, I know from the outside looking in, many times people think, well, they know what's going on. I'll just be honest, guys, they don't. There's so many bills, and when you look at, I mean, my gosh, look at the IRS code alone. Look at how voluminous that is. There's no way for a legislator to know everything that's going on. Most of them, they're not trying to be mean to us. They just don't understand. They need us to educate them. So I always say, you never want to go in protesting. You're just going to turn them off. You go in to build a relationship and educate them, and they're open almost every single time. And every one of the legislators and their staffs was just extremely open to getting the dialogue moving and moving along to the next step. What impressed me the most, I've always set a goal. Early on, a mentor of mine in the political arena told me, never let a meeting end without scheduling another meeting. If you're trying to work on legislation, the goal of your meeting, yes, you want to try and get their support, but more importantly, can you get them to open the door to another legislator that they think might be supportive that can help you out in the cause? And everyone I met with was like that. As a matter of fact, some of them gave me 2 to 3 other names, and they even gave details of, hey, you need to talk to this legislator. Now, their chief of staff probably won't handle that. This is the person on their staff that handles family issues, and this would be regarded as one of the family issues. And I mean, they were, like I said, over the top helpful. Not just, sometimes I know people think, oh, they were just trying to say that to get you out. Not to be arrogant, but I've been around the arena 30 years. I can read people pretty well as when they're trying to push you off. They definitely weren't doing that. They were going over the top trying to be helpful. So like I said, I honestly believe in my heart we've got 3 to 4 years to do it right. Now, that's the critical thing, is to do it right. If we blow it, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to recover. And some people have seen that at the state level, where states get a little bit of traction, they get a bill introduced, it stalls in the Judiciary Committee, and then sometimes it takes 3 to 4 years to get a new bill introduced. That's the way politics is. That's not anybody that did anything wrong in the arena or anything like that. That's politics. You get the momentum going with a bill. If you don't get it done, sometimes it'll stall for 3 to 4 years before you can get a new thing going. That's where I believe we are with Title IV right now. I believe the clock is running right now. There's just too many things coming together. We've got organizations all working together, all in communication. Each of us has our own little idiosyncrasies, but we all sort of are working towards the same goal and in communication with each other, at least. Between whether it's Leading Women for Shared Parenting, National Parents Organization, Fathers' Rights Movement, Americans for Equal Shared Parenting, we're all sort of in conversations to understand what's going on. So we've got that going for us. We've got the fact that we've got some states getting some traction on shared parenting legislation passed, and just the tide has turned. The media is definitely on our side because they're realizing kids need both parents. We've got study after study after study now. I think we're up to 57 peer-reviewed studies now that Linda Nielsen has reviewed at Wake Forest, showing that kids need both parents in their lives. So now it's time to take it to the next level. Now, I have to be careful what I say because this is primarily a message for the Fathers' Rights Movement. And for those of you that don't know, the Fathers' Rights Movement is organized as a 501c3. Now, that's very much needed, by the way. That's an educational one. Now, a 501c3 is good because you can give contributions to a 501c3, which are tax deductible, which helps because people like to get a tax deduction if they're donating to a cause. The challenge is, if you donate to a cause that's a 501c3 and tax deductible, you're not allowed to have much political activity. Normally, you're limited to 5%. Sometimes you can push it a little to 10%, but you're going to get a serious, not just a slap on the wrist, a serious penalty if you do a little bit too much what's considered legislative activity. So that's why the Fathers' Rights Movement is great. They've got a great reach. I think it's up to 431,000 followers on Facebook now. They do a great job. The volunteers, and I hate to mention names because I'm going to leave people out, but they've given me editor access, and periodically I scroll through and I watch some of the people that are writing, people that send messages in. And I just tell you what, guys, I literally get goosebumps when I think of people like Emma, Stephanie, Melanie, some of these people, and I've literally watched firsthand Emma save some lives. That is not an exaggeration. Of men that were just so depressed. They didn't know if they would ever see their kids again. And I know some people say, well, gosh, did they have a mental illness? You take the most sane person in the world and you take their child away and make them question if they're ever going to see them again. How is someone like that supposed to be hope? But I'm not exaggerating, guys. I have watched Emma literally save lives. That is just unbelievable. So we've got some of the best volunteers with the Fathers' Rights Movement that there could possibly be. But we are a little bit limited. We can't do too much political activity. That's why I have to be a little careful what I say. My talk tonight is mainly geared towards education. And most of you know every Monday night I give a little bit of an educational type of a thing. I have to watch how, so I don't cross the line. And that's why I formed the Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. It is not in any way try to be in conflict with Fathers' Rights Movement or any other organization out there. There's two goals for the Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. Number one is to get a 50-50 rebuttable presumption bill passed in all 50 states. And number two is to work on Title IV defunding formulas. Now the key with my organization is to work in conjunction with every other organization. I do not want anyone to be thinking that I think my organization is more important than any other organization. It's a team effort. And just like a team, you're going to have the pitcher, the catcher, the shortstop, the first baseman. You leave one of those people out, and there's a big gap open there for somebody to hit a ball through it. So that's what we need to do. We need to all lock arms, and each of us are going to have strengths. Each of us are going to have weaknesses. We just sort of work together as a team to say, okay, this one plays this role. Personally, within the Americans for Equal Shared Parenting and within the statewide legislation and the federal legislation, my personal specialty is opening the doors. A lot of people see me and I get a lot of credit and a lot of people saying thank you, but I'll tell you what, the ones who deserve a lot of thank you are people like a Thomas Fidler, a Jeremy Roberts, a Linda Reutzel, a Kenneth Goins. Those are people who have done phenomenal work behind the scenes. Now, sometimes it takes someone like me to open the door, but once somebody opens the door, you better have a great team that can really come in and close the deal. And I'll tell you what, my efforts would be nothing without some of the people that I just mentioned. And there's more people I hate to mention because I'm leaving people out, like a Matt Hale, a Keith Ledbetter, a Linda Wright, people like that. So we've got some great teams of people. But the reason I tell you that is we are definitely going to need some help. I believe it's time to step up the game to the next level. We've got about a 3 to 4 year timeline if we do it right. But a couple things that we're going to need. Number one, to let you know, we're going to need to get some statewide bills passed. To do that, we're going to need a database. And that's why if you've been following me at all, I keep saying afesp.com. If you can go to that website, there will be a thing that will say join the database. The reason we need that is legislators look at numbers. They have a responsibility to their constituents. And the way they know what their constituents are feeling is how many calls are they getting, how many emails are they getting, how many letters are they getting from people within their districts. So we're going to need to send some calls to action out over the next couple of years. But we need that database to be private. We do not want to send a call to action on a public Facebook page. That's the kiss of death, okay? But we also want to make sure that people know how to write a letter. Some people would love to, they just don't know what to do. So in this, when we do a call to action, we're going to tell you, we're going to give you bullet points of what to say. We don't want a form letter. If they get more than 3 form letters, they throw them all away because their attitude is, most of these people just copied and pasted, didn't even read it. So we're going to give you bullet points of what to write. You can put in a couple of paragraphs yourself, email it. We're going to tell you who to write and more importantly when to write. But we need those names in that database now. Now's the time to be really gathering that. That is what's going to give us clout in Washington, D.C. and in capitals across the country. Next thing is we're going to need some funding. And I don't want to overstep my bounds on the Fathers' Rights Movement because they are a 501c3 and they need money too. Their role, as I said, is more of an educational function. But also just to let people realize too, we have set up a board of directors for Americans for Equal Shared Parenting. They're going to have oversight on all the finances and review that on a regular basis. And also to keep myself in check. I've learned a lot. I've got, I believe, one of the best pastors in the world at my church. As some of you know, if you ever heard Phillips and Craig and Dean, the Christian music group, but Sean Craig is the pastor of our church. Very humble man. I mean, here's a guy who has sold millions and millions and millions and millions of records. You can tell how old I am. But over the years, but a very, very humble man. And what he has done, he has set up a pastor's advisory council that sort of keeps him in check. And the same way with me. Obviously, my name's out there a lot. I don't want to get my ego out of control. So I've asked Thomas Fidler to be on that committee, Jeremy Roberts, who most of you know, and several other people, one of which has asked me not to put his name out, but a very, very well-known figure in Missouri politics, extremely well-known, who's been a friend of mine for years and a good mentor. But people like that, for a couple things. Number one, to make sure that we're working in conjunction with other organizations. We don't want to step on another organization's toes. So I want to make sure that I'm working in conjunction with other organizations and that we're doing everything on the up and up as far as the finances and everything like that. So once again, I'm not here to put a plug, but if you are interested in giving some finances, I not to brag, but I think I'm very good at getting my foot through the door, but I need the money to get to the door. Okay, that Washington, D.C. trip was expensive, and I just don't have the extra money. I think most of you know I'm driving around with a check engine light on my car, and there's not much food in this house. So if people can help out financially, we would greatly appreciate it. On the Americans for Equal Shared Parenting Facebook page and website, we did start a campaign that we just launched today. It's called $50 for 50 states. If people can give, we would greatly appreciate it. But I'll tell you what, guys, time is definitely now. There's no doubt in my mind. There's a tidal wave going across the country. We're getting some statewide legislation passed. The door has been open to Title IV. And this isn't just a pipe dream. It's open, guys. I'm telling you. I looked at some of these senators, looked them in the eye. The door is open now to get some things done. We are going to be doing some events primarily in the Midwest, but we'll be spreading those out. If you're in the Springfield, Illinois area, I know November 5th, there's about 4 or 5 organizations. We're all working together to put a great event on in Springfield, Illinois. That'll be November 5th. In Cape Girardeau, Missouri, that'll be Thursday, October 12th. That's going to be a powerful one. We may have the Speaker of the House of Missouri at that one. That'll be a powerful one. So if you're within 3 hours, even if you're in Illinois, trust me, any event like we have, like this, is going to help every state. So even if you're not in Missouri, if you can cross the river and get to that event, we'd appreciate it. Springfield, Missouri, we're going to be doing one on October 15th. That's a Sunday. We're going to be doing one in Lansing, Michigan on October 26th. St. Louis, November 6th. We're going to have a powerful one again in St. Louis, and I believe there's a couple of them going on in Iowa, too, in the mid-October range. But, guys, I'm excited. We're making progress. Statewide legislation is getting passed. We're getting media attention. I'll shoot the links out when the Missouri Viewpoints TV show that I recorded today goes out. I do know one of the Missouri papers, the St. Louis papers, contacted me. I believe they're putting an article out on Friday about the trip to D.C. that'll help give us even more exposure. But we're there, guys. If you've ever said, you know, when is something going to happen, the time is now. We need your help. And whether it's just inputting your name on the call to action, whether it's sharing posts like this, whether it's sharing one of the pages, whether it's contributing financially, that is just as much a piece of the puzzle. So many times people say, well, gosh, I wish I had the skills of like you to go to Washington and meet with some of those people. Guys, I'm not exaggerating. That trip would not have happened if people hadn't helped to get me to Washington, D.C. So if you can help financially or put your name in the database or share one of these posts, you're just as much a part of the team as everyone else. So I'm excited, guys. We're making progress, and I will talk to y'all later.